Capitalism podcast.
All right, welcome back to another episode here on Life's Hidden Curriculum. Quan King, and today I want to drop some gems on y'all if I can, if you will allow me to. Now, I don't really go big into titles, but what I will say, the topics we're talking about today are going to be the stock market. We're going to talk about prediction markets and cryptocurrency. Those are things that, as you guys are going through life currently, and episode is more so for the young adults. As you're moving through life currently, you guys are experiencing a different way in which things are operating. So it's good to have that stuff on point. So I'm going to read a little bit from my script because it's a lot of information. I ain't going to lie to you. So buckle up and let's get popping, all right? So no matter where I find you right now, you might be on the subway, going uptown, you might be doing whatever right after school, at home chilling. My wish for you right now is, I know when the weather gets warm out, y'all be on that shit. Don't be on that shit. Just don't. Let's have a good, cool summer, right? It's going to be hot as hell outside. Let's not do the nut shit, okay? It's already enough nut shit going on in the world as it is. Y'all don't need to, add to it. Appreciate it. I know I'm not talking to all of you, but to the few of you who this may reach, let's not do nut shit this year, this summer. Please, it would be nice to just have a chill fucking summer, all right? All right, so here's something that we're going to get into. We're going to talk about the economy a little bit. So again, this is for like the older audience. A lot of people feel like the shit is rigged. And it is. It's like we live in this casino now of the economy where people are just making bets and they are trying their luck. They're trying their hand. And some people are getting rich. Other people are not. And the easy thing to say is it's a scam. I like to say that all the time because it is an easy thing to say. But it does require you to be knowledgeable of what the hell you're doing, because you can easily lose a lot of money and people make money off of you losing money. When I think of it like that, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Oh, that's a scam. But again, people can make money off of it and can make a living off of it. It's just a matter of how much you want to get involved in it. So you may have heard that, prediction markets, crypto, apps, all this kind of stuff was supposed to democratize money, meaning take it from all the people have the wealth up top and there's more for everybody across the board. But now, especially in 2026, it feels like they've just built a faster elevator to the penthouse for some people. And some people were already up there to begin with, or they own the whole damn building. So we're going to look at the ancestry of these markets and figure out how we got here. So let's start with this. From spices to Satoshi. Interesting. Let's go way, 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 way back. We're talking about the 1600s. Capitalism basically found its legs with the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. So back then, your big players across the globe. One of them was the Dutch East India Company. So they were big in trading spices and all sorts of stuff across the globe. And if you do recall, when America was discovered, it was on one of those journeys where they were trying to figure out a different way to get around the globe to avoid having to pay extra taxes and extra other little things like that. So it's like, if we go west to get to India, well, maybe there's a way that way we don't have to pay all these people in between, Europe and India. So basically they were sending ships to Asia for spices, which was super dangerous at that time. You had storms, you had pirates, you had all sorts of nonsense going on. So they created the first joint stock company to share the risk and the reward, which basically means if the ship came back with nutmegs and cloves, then everybody got a cut of those sales. But if it sank, then nobody went broke, right? So again, you're sharing the risk and you're sharing the reward. So it allowed regular people to own a piece of a larger enterprise. But let's keep it 100. That wealth was also built on a monopoly that enforced a private army and the violent colonization of places like Indonesia. So all that money that was accumulated as a result of these people outsourcing basically some of their capital, what that turned into was a government that was then fueled and funded to be able to go out and colonize and wreak havoc in other places of the world. Money has always affected politics. All right. Next, we'll talk about cryptocurrency. So fast forward to 2008. The financial crisis hits, and out of those ashes, Bitcoin is born. An explicit middle finger to centralized banking. Satoshi Nakamoto, who that is like a nickname. His real identity is still, we don't really know. Some people have some pretty good ideas, but his idea was to get rid of this trusted third party. Now what is a third party? So if you go buy water ice and use your credit card, you're not actually sending money. What's happening is a conversation is being had from the vendor where you're buying the water ice from and your bank. Your bank's be like, yo, I checked their account. They're good for it. Update your stuff and I'm gonna update mine. The money doesn't actually move the same way it used to. Whereas if I give you cash for something, now that cash goes in your drawer. Now it's all digital electronic conversations that are being had. But what happens is for having those conversations, more and more people are getting a cut. So your vendor at the water ice, their bank may say, okay, in order for us to do this, we're going to charge you 3%. And then behind the scenes, both of the banks, the vendor's bank and your bank, are like, all right, for this 3%, you're going to take 2% and I'll take the 1%. Say less. Cool. And all these transactions happen. Meanwhile, in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm just paying for this water ice. No, you're paying for the water ice and you're paying for these other people to get paid so that you can pay for the water ice. Currency was, in a sense, means to like get rid of that. We're not having middlemen no more. We're just going to pay for things directly and that's going to be it. And on top of that, you got banks doing all sorts of shy shit behind the scenes. They're leaking data. They might freeze your account for whatever reason. They may have, all these other little barriers to say like, well, you don't have enough money in your account or you haven't made enough transactions. And so therefore we're going to hold you up. Cryptocurrency was a means to kind of bypass banking all around. Nakamoto wanted trustless finance, replacing the bank with math or crypto, which is basically like a little puzzle type situation that was unique and independent for each individual bit of crypto that existed, each bit of code that existed. So the goal was to stop governments from inflating away your savings. And in reality, though, it just created a parallel system, the same system that allow people who did have money or people who knew how to do this tech stuff to be able to get paid faster and more than everybody else. So then we're going to go into, let's talk about prediction markets, jelly beans and billionaires. So we have these prediction markets. You might have heard of them, Kalshi and Polymarket. Really, I feel like these are birthed out of just gambling in general and sports betting. And that has been a whole corruption, but we've known that from the beginning that sports and betting don't really go hand in hand. But now we're being made to believe that you can bet on anything and everything. Everything is up for an opportunity to make a little money on, because in their mind, these bets, these wagers are based on the wisdom of the crowds. And what is the wisdom of the crowd, you may say? Well, here's the theory. If you ask one person, one expert, right, how many jelly beans are in a jar, they could give you any number of different answers and they could be completely wildly off. But if you were to ask 1,000 people, and you took the average of what they said, surprisingly, you'd find that they'd be very, very close within like a 1% margin of error. Now, that's a crazy phenomenon. It's cool. Now, the belief is that the crowd cancels out any bias any one individual person may have. But here's the problem, right? When people make a bet, right, all money isn't created the same. Just like in gambling, period. Like in boxing, if the night before a big fight, somebody puts $1 million that one person is going to win, that changes the entire line of the bet. Everybody's like, whoa, why'd you put so much money on this one person? You must know something. And that affects how everybody else starts to bet based off of that. Now, it doesn't matter if that person has $1 million to spend. I don't care. I don't want to put $1 million on something that's never did it before. But regardless, that's going to change how people bet when it comes to the fight. Now, the difference is when you're talking about prediction market stuff, that could impact how the actual event turns out. And let me get into it. These prediction markets, right? That wisdom is weighted by the dollars. So a billionaire's guess carries more weight than 10,000 of us, again, that one expert versus, asking 1,000 people. And it turns a statistical tool into a financial weapon where the truth is now being bought. So now you have people betting on everything from interest rates to military strikes. And if you guys have paid attention to the news, that's the big thing where like overnight people are putting these really big bets on prediction markets about, there's going to be some big military campaign in Venezuela, or, there's going to be a bunch of missile strikes in Iran, and they're going to maybe take out some important people, or there's going to be some specific thing that's going to happen where it's like, why would somebody make such a wild and very specific guess that something's going to happen within a certain time period unless they actually knew that it was going to happen? And why would they put so much money behind it? And so what happens is, naturally, of course, but because a lot of these things are happening behind the scenes and you have cryptocurrency involved, you can't trace it. You don't know exactly who it is, who's doing it, but you are able to see that different people on behalf of other people are making some of these moves. So it makes you wonder, it's feeling kind of rigged. If I know that I'm going to drop a bomb on a foreign country, I might put in the market, yo, I think that somebody might be dropping a bomb tomorrow. I don't know who, but let me put this $10 million wager that somebody drops a bomb tomorrow. And then what happens tomorrow? You drop the bomb, and now you just cashed out on whatever your $10 million bet was. That's crazy, right? But that's what's happening in real time right now. So you might be thinking, well, why can't I just get on this? Why can't I just, let me get some bread? Why everybody else getting bread? I want to get some bread too. And you wouldn't be wrong in having that thought and that mindset. Here's the catch. It's called the Cantillon effect. Now, you're like, bro, fuck you talking about? Don't worry, I'm explaining. So back in the day, the people closest to the king got new money first, and they were able to spend it before the prices went up. So by the time that the common person, you and me, got that money, that same money that just came out, inflation already made everything expensive. Now, you might be like, well, I don't understand how that happens. So think of it like this. You homies with the king, right? King is like, yo, we got this new money that's about to come out tomorrow. We're going to, make sure everybody gets some bread, and we're going to take care of the kingdom, all that kind of stuff. Here's your paycheck. You get your paycheck, early, because you with me. Like, I'm telling you, like, something out tomorrow. So I got it right here. Here's your cut. Live your life. I appreciate the hard work you're doing. You take that money, you go out, and you like, damn, I just got paid. I'm feeling good. Everybody else didn't get paid yet, but you got paid already, right? You and, the king's closest people, y'all got paid. I'm about to go out and buy like 50 apples. Like, I really want some apples right now. Cool. You go out, you go to the market. They only got 20 apples. So you buy out all their 20 apples. Now you out over here, they got 30 apples. Boom. I'm set. Boom. I got my 50 apples. I'm good eating my apples. Right? Now, the people you bought the apples from are like, well, damn, we ain't got no more apples. So what happens is now the cost of those apples that they do have, right, they just went up because there's fewer of them, supply and demand. So now that there are fewer apples and those apples are more expensive, when you bought the apples, they were at 59 cents, hypothetically, relax. Now that there's fewer apples available, the people that are selling the apples are like, well, we stand to make a little bit more profit now. So instead of those apples now being 59 cents, they're going to be 89 cents. So now when everybody else's check clears, right, because you got paid on Wednesday, everybody else's check clears on Friday. Now they at the grocery store buying apples, and they're like, yo, where the apples at? And why they 89 cents? That's the inflation, the Cantillon effect. So what does that have to do with the fuck I was just talking about? Here we go. In crypto, people who have early access are the people with the most money. So when you're talking about venture capitalists, right? They might get tokens for like a 90% discount when they first drop, before it even gets to the public. So now they're getting access to the resource for cheaper than what you would get it for because they have more money. And there's a thought that, well, they're definitely going to buy these, so let me give them a deal. Then you have gas fees. So think of the blockchain as like a decentralized toll road. Every time you drive on it, you got to pay the people who maintain it. And that's really no different than like stocks were. You had a broker who would make the transactions for you, right? Every transaction that they did, they would like, oh, I get a cut. Like, I get something. Like, you got to give me a little bit. So if you're doing hundreds of transactions a day and you're taking a little bit off of each one, you're making a nice little bit of change. So it's no different for blockchain and for crypto. right? Those people that are moving these things around, that are moving your piece of blockchain that you own from one ledger to another ledger, or they are documenting now who owns it and who you sold it to and da da da, they are getting a little cut of that transaction. But here's the crazy part. So during busy times on like Ethereum, for example, that fee to like do that transaction for you can go from like 50 to like $100 based on how busy and how crazy it is, right? Because again, there's only so many people that can do this, so they get to charge like, all right, I gotta do extra work, so I'm gonna charge more for my services. Now, for somebody that's moving $10 million, $50, $100 ain't nothing, right? But for me and you, we trying to get in. We was like, I'm putting $100. If it's $50 to move my 100, that's like a 50% tax, bro. That's hurting my pockets. That's gonna be a barrier for me to get involved in any of this, right? So again, it's one of those things where now the knowledge gap of being able to know how to do this is almost like a wealth gap in and of itself, where it's still dividing the haves and have-nots. So let's get back to this like reality warping thing of the prediction markets, right? So this is where it gets really weird and really scary. Like I said before, if you know you're gonna drop bombs tomorrow, now you putting bets that somebody might drop bombs tomorrow, right? Think of it like this too. Think of it like a streaker, right? Naturally, there is a wager, a bet, whatever on these prediction markets. Is someone gonna streak at the Super Bowl? Well, okay, yes. Now you hit yes, and then what do? You go to Super Bowl and you streak. Now, if it's high enough, it might be worth never being able to go to an NFL game again. It might be worth getting kicked out and going to jail. Might be worth it if you stand to make $3-4 million because you said yes, somebody's gonna streak at the Super Bowl, and then you are the person that ends up streaking. But also understand that has now impacted the reality. It's not just an innocent wager. It's not just, hey, I'm gonna flip a coin. Is it gonna be heads or tails? Right? That's a very innocent, more or less, depending on how you know how to flip coins or not, wager. But if you have a coin that's only heads and you say, I bet it's gonna land on heads, right? You have inside knowledge, right? And so that makes it a very, it makes it not just unethical, but like unfair. Like you're scamming people. But at the same time, things that are not supposed to happen, or things that maybe shouldn't be happening, or there's no way of knowing they would happen, suddenly happen. And when those things happen, people make a bunch of money off of it. And you're like, wait, how did you know that was going to happen? That's where we're talking about reality starts getting shaped and warped, because you're also looking at people influencing others. So politicians, for example, think of it like if a candidate runs for president next and there's a big investment that says like this person is going to win, right? Now the news is going to say, well, the prediction markets are saying this person is going to win. Now that might influence you as a voter to say, well, it's a foregone conclusion. They already said this person is going to win. So now that influences how you vote, or even if you vote. And so that's what I'm saying. Like it is affecting so much more than just like someone making money, because it can be a determination and a predictor of things that are happening that would not have happened otherwise. All right. We're even seeing what are called DAOs. These are decentralized autonomous organizations. Now that sounds like some real Spynet type shit. And if you don't know Spynet, I kind of dated myself. It's Terminator reference, right? Skynet, not Spynet, Skynet. Basically where code is low, where the machines are making the decisions based off the information that they have. And there is no CEO. There is very little human element. Now, here's where there is a bit of human element, which is where it gets really muddled too. So look at Maker DAO, which is one of these decentralized autonomous organizations. Whereas it may sound like it's democracy because it's like, well, we're just applying the law. We're saying this is this, this is this. So when this happens, this is here. Cut dry without getting all emotional or anything, all that kind of stuff. This is just what the law is. But here's the thing. For like Maker DAO, they may say, well, here's our course of action. Here's what we say to do. And then they go to their board, who is made up of all these different individuals who own voting power in it, to say, yes, go with that decision, or no, don't go with that decision. Come on with a different situation, right? So if a bunch of self-serving interest groups own a large majority of the voting power, all these tokens in DAO, then what happens then? Right? They get to make and mold and shape this thing that's supposed to be completely independent, supposed to be completely non-biased and objective. They mold it into a thing that still benefits them on the back end. So it's just oligarchy with a digital mask on. So what's the move? Well, I tell you all this because you should be skeptical. Have a healthy sense of skepticism. I know that people feel as though there's quick ways to make money, and like if everybody else is out here getting bread, like why would I hold myself back? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be cautious, because even something where it seems like everybody else is cashing out, somebody's going to make money off of you not cashing out, you flanking out, you investing in something, or you putting your hard-earned money into something where it's like, oh no, this is going to pay off, and then you get scammed out. Bro, that's been a casino racket for millennia, generations, all sorts of stuff. You know, the 3-card Monty that they do, where they hide something in a ball and then they like flip them over and move them around, or they do it with cards, or they do it with cups, all that kind of stuff. Bro, that's been a racket since the longest time. And it's elaborate, where they got people that pretend to lose money or pretend to make a bunch of money, because when you think that they're scamming this one guy, they're really scamming you. And that guy that you think is getting scammed is actually in on it, right? And so they want you to believe, they're like, oh, look, you can win because this guy just won. And then you put your money in, like, oh, yeah, I know what to do. And now you get scammed. And now all the people that are around you take home some bread at your expense. Like this has been our capitalism at work for inception, since the beginning. So again, just be skeptical. Capitalism has always been a game of those that have and those that don't. And these new tools, the prediction markets, the stock market, since its inception, in cryptocurrency, they just gave the most powerful people even more access and a faster game. So instead of things taking multiple days, these things can happen almost instantly, in seconds. The thought that crypto and these prediction markets could somehow decentralize the accumulation of wealth at the top has only opened the door a little bit for them to be part of that top percentage. And even if we're being honest, they're really still not even part of that, because the people that already have the money are just making more money. So they're just making it look like, oh well, I'm part of them now. I scammed them into the 1%. No, you really didn't. Like there's a line that you're in now. And there's still the 1% that's up there, and they will do everything in their power to keep you in check and keep you in line. Anyway, so that decentralization is really not just decentralizing, it's re-centralizing. And it's created a new set of gatekeepers. Now, the tech bros, the techno oligarchs. So stay sharp, keep your eyes open, and don't let the casino convince you that you're on a win streak, because the house always wins. This has been Life Saving Curriculum. Appreciate y'all. Stay safe, be smart, holla at your boy. Thanks for listening to another episode on Life's Hidden Curriculum Podcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, as we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. If you like this content and want to support, head over to the website, lifeshiddencurriculum.com, and click donate. Also, I'm always looking for guests to share their stories, especially if it can help the next generation. Hit me up using the contact link. Thanks again, and stay tuned for more.